Art Scene in Oaxaca with Mija, Matriz, and John Labrousse. Mija has been an educator and an artist for decades and been traveling extensively in Oaxaca, Mexico for the last 15 years, guiding travel groups and teaching classes.
Transplant from Hawaii. I was a middle school teacher for a really long time, Montessori middle school teacher here in town at Ridgely Montessori. I'm a musician and a poet. Mainly I did poetry slam for years and years, performance poet, and Mija and I have been friends for about 15 years, something like that. Long time.
We've known each other a long time.
Long time. Mm-hmm. And so we've done a bunch of projects together and things over the years, and just a lot of mutual love and respect.
Yes. And now we're partners.
And now, yeah. So there's that. So yeah, why don't we go ahead and get started and just kind of dive right into where we're talking about. So this is something. This is the first question that always comes up when I say we're going to Oaxaca is like where? Especially when they see it. Like, how do you even say that?
Exactly. Oaxaca.
So we thought we'd kind of ground us with that first thing off. So Oaxaca is down here in red. Mm-hmm. I don't know how many states there are in Mexico, but there are a lot of states in Mexico. And one of the fascinating things, we tend to think about Mexico as a very it's one culture, right? It's this monoculture kind of place, and it is not.
No.
The culture is so distinct, and the traditions and things are so distinct between regions of Mexico that it's really kind of an amazing place. And it's so different and so diverse. And Oaxaca is somewhere. It's all the way down south. This is Guatemala right here, and Chiapas is the southernmost state. But so we're right on the edge of moving down into Central America.
Mm-hmm. And Oaxaca is really unique in that it still identifies, or 50% of its population still identifies as indigenous, more so than any other state in Mexico. So there's still many indigenous cultures and arts that are still very alive today. And Oaxaca City itself, which is primarily what we're going to be talking about, and the surrounding areas, sits at 5,000 feet and is surrounded by big mountain ranges. It's a really beautiful, beautiful place.
So it's kind of up in a bowl, and it's warm and pleasant. When the Spanish came, you don't need a history. I'm a middle school teacher. When the Spanish came, they landed in Veracruz is where they were coming through, and so Oaxaca's way up in the mountains, and some of the why did all these indigenous people escape Spanish persecution? They didn't completely.
No.
But it was easier for folks to get away from the Spaniards when they came.
Well, and also, what I've heard told is that there's speculation that it wasn't quite as colonized because of the mountain ranges, and it was harder to get to. Yeah.
That's what I meant. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Awesome. So that's where we're talking.
That's where we're talking. Yes. This is where we're
right around here in this state of Oaxaca. So I guess the place to start is, so Mija's been doing these tours. She started going down 15 years ago and has been leading tours with Michael and Jewel for how long now?
About 5 years. I've been going down with other artists, like I said, for about 15 years, and I go as often as I could, but leading tours about 5 years.
So she's been pestering me for years. Like I said, we've been friends for a long time. She's like, you've got to come to Oaxaca. You've got to come to Oaxaca. You've got to come to Oaxaca. And I'm like, and the tours, the main tours are for Dia de los Muertos at the end of October, and for Carnival in the middle of February into March. And so I'm in the middle of teaching at that time, right, in middle school. And so I was just never able to make that happen until I stopped teaching 2 years ago. So last year I was like, okay, I'm coming for Dia de los Muertos in October. So last October was the first time I had come to Oaxaca. And so part of this, what's exciting to me is this fresh perspective of coming to this amazing place. And so Mija has a lot of knowledge and a lot of experience, but there's just kind of that excitement of what makes this place so special. It's because it's fresh for me. And it really starts with, this is a Santo Domingo church, and this is kind of in the heart of the city. But I was there taking photography for the tour groups in October and for Carnival as well. A lot of these photos are from that. And I was so enamored with the sky. First thing, these first few slides, I was literally walking around with my head in the clouds, tripping over the uneven sidewalks as we're walking through. And the buildings, because these are, colonial buildings, and they're beautiful. But the clouds were far more fascinating to me. And as we're walking through, this is Santo Domingo Church again at night with the full moon. They light the church up at night. It's just gorgeous.
This church right here, for me, is every time I come back to Oaxaca, this is my wah moment. I love this church so much. And there's this street that we walk down on when we get there, and I walk to the church and come around the side of the building. When this reveals itself, it's always just like, I'm here,
And there's constant bustling energy here in front of the church. Mm-hmm. So they do parades or like weddings, for weddings and things here in front of the church. And so you'll be walking through, and there's folks with the giant puppets, the paper mache puppets and stuff, and bands getting ready to do this celebration for these weddings and different things. You can hire these people now. It's become kind of a tourist thing to do. So it's just, there's always energy and always stuff happening. And there's vendors, there's all kinds of people there. But again, for this first part, I just, like the sky and just the magic of walking through like this. And there's all this stuff going on down here, but I wasn't paying attention. I was looking at the sky above the city. Everywhere we went. If I can, come on. Is it going to work for me?
Did it disconnect?
I think I lost it. Nope, there we go. Yeah. So this is the opera house, more clouds, but it's like, wow, this is a pretty building. Look at those clouds.
We did that a lot.
Did that a lot. I think this is the art museum across from the Zócalo. More clouds. And these churches, it's kind of like in Europe, every small town that you go into, there's these beautiful churches.
Churches in the city center. Yep.
So this was a series of statues that they were moving around the entire country. And as you can see, they're gigantic, and they're also made of some kind of metal. I'm not sure what it is, but you can imagine, I can't imagine how they're getting these things around.
But the clouds behind them.
But the clouds!
Created this amazing backdrop.
Okay, here we go.
This is Soledad, Basilica de Soledad, which is the church in honor of the patron saint of Oaxaca, Soledad.
This thing is just not.
There we go.
The sunset.
Wah!
Whoa.
Another wah moment. This
Right,
is the
more clouds.
auditorium where they hold lots of concerts and stuff, but really they built it for the Guelaguetza, which is an annual festival celebrating the cultures of Oaxaca. And all the dancers from all 8 regions come and do a big performance there over 3 days. It's a big deal. And then the villages actually also have their own Guelaguetzas as well.
Which is, again, this amazing thing about Oaxaca is this coming together and this celebration of culture and this preservation of culture and this great pride in culture and cultural identity.
And that they, like this Guelaguetza it's an indigenous in origin. So the whole point of it is that it means to share. So it means to come and share your culture with each other and celebrate it together.
So eventually, you start looking down from the clouds and looking around you. The clouds are still there, but then you start noticing, holy cow, there's art everywhere. As you walk through this city, there is art everywhere around you. On the streets, there are murals and paintings and things everywhere. This is just in our neighborhood. This is in Xochimilco. Again, these clouds. You kind of like, oh wow, there are all these beautiful paintings also.
Exactly.
These are all murals, and so that's kind of what we're going to do next is kind of once you get your head out of the clouds in Oaxaca and you start paying attention to the art that's everywhere. I wonder if I connect and reconnect. It's just really not working. Whoop.
There we go.
So there's another mural. So just going to kind of walk you through. This is as you're walking through the streets of Oaxaca, and I'm not kidding. You can't go very far without discovering something. There's always. I keep hitting it like 400 times.
So yeah.
So these are statues right across from Santo Domingo Church.
Yeah.
You can see there's also a paste up on the wall behind there. I feel like these were clay.
No, I don't think these were metal. They're made out of something else. But yeah, this is the other thing is that suddenly public art and sculptures will just pop up in different parts of the city, which is another great reason to walk around, because you never know what you're going to see from day to day. Or they might change. They've painted those like a couple different times even, But yeah, for the festivities, this is on a wall outside a gallery. It's a stencil art. And then, of course, during Day of the Dead, a lot of the city will have decorations up to celebrate the festivities.
So many you can hardly see inside, but it looks like there's an ofrenda inside here as well.
Yeah.
Like all of the restaurants and shops and things are building. It's this huge celebration of Day of the Dead that really is happening throughout the city.
Yeah. You see things like this often, especially during festival times, And just so many beautiful murals, especially honoring indigenous culture. And contemporary culture.
And recurring images again and again. There are a lot of things like shapes, but images like of corn. Corn is a very important piece of Oaxacan culture. And you'll see this show up all over the place. And these symbols show up again and again. Hey, come on in.
Hey.
So everything's like sign language. I was biking out in a small village. I didn't put this in here, but I took my bike with me, and I was way out in the middle of nowhere. I'm not even kidding, in the middle of nowhere, there was this giant wall that had something kind of like this, kind of a folk arty kind of feel, but it was different stages of how to detect breast cancer. And it had like all of these different stages of breast cancer and how to know, here are symptoms, out
on a mural.
It's like, wow.
Very unusual. But yeah, this is outside of a
school for the deaf.
School, yeah. Just so many amazing pieces all over, and in different mediums. You can see there's paintings. These are actually, this is printmaking. These are huge pieces that are carved and printed and then pasted up here. Subterráneos is an arts collective, a really well-known arts collective. They put this piece up close to when the Women's March was happening.
And this was just a couple of blocks from the city center. It's called the Zocalo, and this is just about a block from the Zocalo. And so they're putting these, especially these things that are kind of politically charged, in places where there are people.
People are going to see them.
People, like by bus stops and things like that, because this is one of the things that was most inspiring to me about being there was, I was there, we went in the middle of October, and we came back November 14th or 15th. So we were there right as things were ramping up for elections.
Oh yeah.
And there was just a lot of trepidation here at home, and communicating with our family and people back home, and just all of this, like, what are we going to do? What can we do? What power do we have? And this is where the conversations for us really started about what is the role of an artist in the community, right? And we're in this place where the role of the artists in this community is, and we're going to see this more and more as we go through, is very prominent. There's such great respect for artists. There is a need and a reverence for art there in a way that I've never experienced before.
What?
Oh, yeah, that's what's going on.
Yeah, it's a group.
How do I? Is there an easy way to make that not go to sleep?
Yeah. And so, and the thing is, what you'll pretty quickly notice when you're there is that artists are they're storytellers, they're culture keepers. They are they're the voice of of the people. One of our friends said, if you want to know what's going on in Oaxaca, look at the street art, because artists are very vocal and are speaking for the people. You can tell what's important and what are the issues in Oaxaca at the time, what it is they're celebrating, what it is they're concerned about, and things like that.
And that looking for discussion, and opening up these avenues and opening up ideas that we don't talk about, and talking about stuff that we don't talk about. And this is where there's so much stuff going on in Eugene, and that we're not talking about, and that's nothing. There's no resolve in what's going to happen. And so we just got to talking about, so what's the role of us as artists? Like, what can we do? And we're going to get more into that and where that's led us. But again, just around the corner. This is in Jalaco.
Yeah, it's in a neighborhood of of Oaxaca, just outside the city center.
More paste ups.
But and I love too that like so much of this art, like begs begs you to answer or ask questions, right? You're like, what is happening here? And the more you're there, you realize there are certain things that become more prominent, and you learn about them. Like the jaguar heads and the birds and there's all this symbolism, and you start to learn about it.
And even the textures. So we have a friend that is a photographer. Mm-hmm. You want to talk about Gary?
Yeah. So, and we'll see some of this project before. He actually he's a photographer, and he has taken photos of walls in Oaxaca. With all of these different textures and peeled paint and things like that. And he did a collaboration with a felting group at an art center in Oaxaca, and they made large-scale replicas of his photographs in felt. And felt art. Really cool.
Amazing,
we got to see
stuff.
the exhibitions when we were there last. It was a super cool collaboration.
As we're going through, so you start to, your eye gets caught by these. I mean, this is a human-sized print that's up on the wall, and the little things here and there. And they do workshops as well at the collectives, because they want people to learn to use this very democratic art form, right? This is like, or even socialist or communist.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, put the power of production into the people's hands so that we can spread messages and have conversations about important things. It's subterraneous, especially. You go in, there's Marxist literature everywhere, and they're like, power to the people. Like, we need to take that back. But Mija, as we're going through, she's like, whoa, look at this.
I know. I love all of the textured walls. That's
and the color is
it
is amazing. This is time and time again of these things being put up and removed and put up and removed and put up and removed.
Yeah, these are actually
Can you guess what these
receptacles.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry. They're recycling receptacles. I mean, even there's art on the places where they want you to recycle your bottles.
I gotta move a little faster.
You do. And you can see it can be like very playful and very like serious and dramatic as well. And so this piece, I really love this piece. It was a paste up on a wall, and this is Francisco Toledo, who's a really well-known artist, especially in Mexico. He's a prominent artist, and in Oaxaca, he's basically like a patron of Oaxacan artists. He's been really prominent for many, many artists, young artists, including one that we'll be working with soon in a workshop. And he's done tile designs, he's a painter, and he became famous and wealthy. And but with his wealth, he did so much in Oaxaca. He opened a graphic arts school and has collections there, to preserve them. He's opened an art center out of an old textile mill. He's got photography galleries, and he's done so much. And he was so unassuming. Like he walked around the streets all the time, and most people thought he was like a homeless man. But his artwork is prominent.
And he is truly revered in the community, and is seen as a role model and as someone to aspire to. Like, this is there's a lot we could tell so many stories about Toledo.
I know,
but there are so many stories about his generosity and especially his activism in the community, and especially in the preservation of our culture, of their culture, and just really using his power as an artist within the government and within to make decisions happen and to force.
He had influence.
He had a lot of influence, and it's really inspiring. Again, this notion that an artist
can make that kind of
a change, and that all of us have the power to make that kind of change with our art and with our actions as artists.
When did he pass away?
It was
like 3 years ago.
Yeah, it's just a few years ago.
Yeah, very recently.
So again, some playful stuff, and this is like a Guelaguetza. Like, can we done with a little salamander guy? There's so much, and it is. You can't help but stop and admire this stuff. This is
look, and it's like, what's going on here? What do these things mean?
And you've got these deep Zapotec references along with this more colonial kind of image as well. This is Jesus Kobe is another artist that we'll be working with in December, a muralist.
There we go. And again, like when we say art is everywhere, like everywhere. This is in the you'll find these in the trees, knotholes in the trees.
And even you can see there's a little devil guy right here.
Oh, that's an angel.
Is it an angel?
Yeah,
this is
Guadalupe. This is Guadalupe, and this is the angel at her feet. Yeah.
Oh.
And again, like big paper mache sculptures. This is the entrance of a business, a hotel or something. It's all
So you
over.
start finding yourself looking around all the time, like because the whole city is a gallery.
Yeah, and it is. They make art out of everything. The flowers, you can just find little bowls of flowers with all arranged in those beautiful ways. And then if you're there for different festivities, like this is an altar during Semana Santa, which is Holy Week right before Easter. So you will see things like this and decorations and whatnot specifically for that time of year.
Just more paste steps.
Yeah, more paste steps.
Again, the overlap of because things keep going up and coming down, and every day as you're walking through the city, there's more stuff to see.
And then if you're there for Dia de los Muertos, you're going to see ofrendas, altars, and also a lot of different art pieces, public art pieces that are put out to be part of the festivities, and also to teach people. There's last year there was a huge display of ofrendas from different regions. So you got to learn about these ofrendas, these altars that are created for the different regions of Oaxaca. Again, so much pride, and wanting to share your culture with people who are coming. Woo!
Look, my head's in the clouds again. Yeah, just so much art everywhere.
So much.
Oh.
Yeah, this is during Carnival. Again, you're gonna see, artwork. This is during a procession. This was being carried by people. This piece right here, it's super cool. I am not sure. I would hope so. My God, it's so heavy, right?
Iron.
But again, and people are dressed up, and this is not uncommon. These are things that you will see. You see people in costume for the festivities, especially.
This went up this last time. We were there, it wasn't there, and then the next day it was there.
The next day it was, and we were like, what? That piece is amazing.
Just overnight. Because with these paste ups too, they go out at night. It's not legal.
It's illegal. So they put them up usually in the middle of the night.
With their name proudly displayed. Subterráneos, everywhere, this isn't Subterráneos, but everybody knows where they are. Mm-hmm. And you'll see their name all over the city with these giant paste ups. What's cool is these are, you can wash, it's just newsprint or
it's
tissue
newsprint
paper.
Or tissue paper, yeah.
This is outside a restaurant.
Yeah.
You see many restaurants they hire muralists to decorate their restaurant.
Yeah, I know, this was my favorite.
We were in here for dinner. This is the one with the bat, right?
Yeah, there was a bat came
I don't know what this was before it was a restaurant, but there was a pool in there. We were sitting and having dinner, and the bat started coming to the water.
I know, that was super cool. Super fun, playful stuff. I love it.
And Muertos is a celebration of with all of the parades and things. There are brass instruments everywhere.
Oh yeah, so much music.
That's amazing.
So much music. Every parade, bands.
We saw. I wish we'd gotten pictures of the young woman that was painting this while we were there. But this went up in 2 days.
Yeah, we saw her paint it in the time we were there.
This is a giant building. It's hard to see the scale on this, but it's just gigantic. This is out in a small little village, San Martín Tequete. This is where we went for Carnival. And so here's another, God, am I going too much? So we went to San Martín Tequete for Carnival. And so we start, it's kind of a mockery celebration of the wedding.
It's like a mock, it's a mock wedding, and so there's a procession that happens. We honestly don't fully understand the whole wedding piece of it.
None of the guides that we work with
I know,
don't either.
Our guides were like,
where did this start?
This is what they do, And so, it's a procession, and you start at like the groom's house, and then you go to the bride's house, and each family like hosts, and it's like it's all mock, it's not real, but it's
and it's just this generosity of like, welcome and join the parade, and we're going to the bride's house for the next celebration. There's a bunch of people in masks and costumes dancing in this tent. And
anywhere that's there, anyone that's there, and a lot of what in this particular village they dress up as a lot of times as devils. It's Fat Tuesday. It's a day before Ash Wednesday, before Lent begins, and so it's kind of this like getting all your yayas out before you have to go before you start Lent, right? And so part of you're wearing masks and stuff, so nobody knows who you are, right? Well, you do all of your debaucherous things or whatever. So it's that kind of, very very playful and but super fun. But they're passing out mezcal and beer and food.
And it's just this super welcoming, super inclusive. I think that's the word inclusive and community minded is really what comes to mind when I think of Oaxaca. It's just such an inclusive community, and that's the small villages in particular. They operate as communes in essence. I mean, people are taking on jobs, and like the police forces in these small villages are the people. They're volunteer.
It's volunteer. It's part of their culture. It's called usos y costumbres, and actually most of the villages in both Oaxaca and Chiapas operate with usos y costumbres, and actually they do not have to follow necessarily federal law. They create their own law in their villages, and it's all very community-minded. Any of the positions that you hold are volunteer. Everyone works for the betterment of the community at large. No one from outside can own any land or land there or anything like that. It's very much for the everything's for the betterment of the community. It's really unique and beautiful, and it's one of the things that I love about it for sure.
And there's a lot of the art that you see is really provocative, and is to get us thinking and talking about what's going on. It takes a minute to kind of figure these things out sometimes. What's happening
here?
What do I decide? Well. There is a lot of, I don't know how, we were there.
Keep moving.
Just keep moving.
Yeah, keep going.
Yep.
I mean, just like at least go to next.
It's stuck
next
again.
photo.
There we go. Oop.
No, go back.
So we were there during the Women's March in March. And it was just really like a whole bunch of these went up the day before the march all over the city and all over the outskirts of the city as I was biking around, just really putting in front of us like feminist issues of what is happening to women and what women are struggling with in society.
And making them like very, I mean, there's the Women's March was powerful.
Super powerful.
Yeah, women were angry. There was a lot of graffiti that went up as well. And
vandalism.
There was vandalism and, but lots of signs, also a lot of like singing and chanting and, like camaraderie as well. Like really, you could really see that also. But, they're like, no, we're talking about femicide in Mexico. We're talking about the issues that, domestic abuse, like all of these things, like we're putting it in your face. And it happens and through the art as well.
Right. It's not something we're just going to let sit back there. Mm-hmm. And I love these images, like taking something as awful as a gun and turning it into this like little fancy celebration of very politically minded, a lot of historically minded, like these things, like these transgressions, these whatever will not happen again, and we're going to remind you of.
And we're going to remember, what happened,
and who we are. There's so much of this is about who they are as a people, and reminding like indigenous roots and where folks come from. Mm-hmm. And it's
world issues.
It's
as
world
well.
issues.
Yeah.
So this happened. This went viral. We were there this is during Muertos, or this is during Carnival.
Carnival. We were there
when
in
this
February.
went up, and it was all over Facebook for a minute.
It was all over social media.
We're like, it's right down the road.
And we were like, oh, this is right here. And this is by an artist named Yeska, very, very well-known artist. And his artwork very much challenges a lot of issues that are societal, that are facing like our young people today, all kinds of things. So I'm not surprised he did that.
our culture with the agaves. Mezcal has become so popular internationally that outside investors are coming in and buying out cornfields. So let's replace the food with agaves so we can make money.
Yeah.
And they're saying, no, this isn't for you to make money. This is mezcal.
This is our culture.
Is part of our culture. It's not just something for you to make money with.
So there's definitely fear around that.
This is during Muertos again. This is a mural that's there all the time, but then
they add the
little
they add their Muertos decorations.
And again, with the international issues, this went up just before we left to come home. I don't know if you can see the Israeli flag and the American flag on the bomb with this Palestinian woman with her child and her despair.
Yeah.
So again, just this really strong.
And also like just vibrant fun as well. I mean, this is one of the things I love about Oaxaca is that the dichotomy of life is very obvious. There's a lot of celebration and there's a lot of suffering. It's very, you see it both. You see beautiful buildings, pristine, amazing buildings, and you'll see buildings that are falling apart right next to them. It is, it's not just, painted pretty and pristine. It's like very real, and that's
alive, very alive.
Yeah, exactly.
And this is just outside. This is just walking around outside the city. The other thing that happens is every other door that you walk past is probably either a gallery or a colectivo or a museum. They're everywhere. These small colectivo is an artist collective. There's Subterráneos.
Yeah. So we mentioned Subterráneos, started by an artist named Mario, a printmaker, and he started this collective, and it's become really well known. They have pieces that have been shown all over the world. And he also, it's really important to him to teach youth. And so they teach youth printmaking and mural painting. This is Damien, and he was showing us this piece that he was working on. This was back in October, November. He showed us this, and really bringing attention to the militarization of police.
The police force.
And then we actually got to see the piece up when we were back in March.
And he was actually getting ready to take that board up to Mexico City, which is about 7 hours away.
Yeah.
On a bus.
Yeah.
To work.
So this collective, this is their space. They have printing presses there. They do their work there. They sell their work there. They have a gallery. They are, a lot of artists working together, and they, and it was great because they talked to us about what is their purpose, what is it they're trying to accomplish, what is it they want to do, and it's one, to support each other as artists, and two, to bring important issues to the streets. This is in their studio, and again, you can see lots of different symbolism. The animals of the area.
There's so many recurring things in here between the corn and the armadillo, and the jaguar is a really big power symbol, and the indigenous peoples and traditional Zapotec figures as well. Yeah. And it's just once you start going into the galleries, I fell in love with the printmaking process here. I had never experienced the volume of work in one city before. I'd never seen this many prints, and they're just. I was like, this is something I want to do, and it's to be able to do, as you know. I mean, this is a lot harder than it looks.
It's a lot of work.
There's a bit much steeper learning curve than I was ready for. So again, but Subterráneos, I mean, here's even our QR code to our Instagram in case you need to find us, cops,
Find us up. Yeah, and the other thing you'll notice, these are two other collectives, and so they do have their, and they want to make sure that people know who is doing them. Armarte is actually a women's collective, and there are some collectives that are just for women. This is an awesome gallery that we found just the last time that we went, and the artist's name is Close. These are all of his pieces, and he opened this gallery just recently and is actually still working on it, and in part so that they can host residencies, artist residencies there, and they've got multiple rooms that people can stay in. It's really cool. We're
The
excited
terrazza upstairs is
Yeah.
probably the best
It's
view
a
in the
really
city.
amazing space, and
studio space upstairs.
and also a gallery. Yeah.
He's wanting to fill the space with artists working together from
Together.
all over the world.
Yeah.
Is his goal. Super cool guy.
This is Zapata Gallery and Collective. They've been around a very, very long time. And they do a lot of stencil work as well as printmaking, and they're really well known. Jeska is an original. He was one of the original creators of this collective.
You notice a lot of these galleries and are studios also. I mean,
Yeah.
they're people in there working on art.
Exactly.
You go in to potentially buy art. These are working studios.
And you'll just see, again, lots of different mediums are represented. And there's, like I said, so many different galleries, and so you'll see a lot of contemporary art as well as artisan work and lots of different mediums. I mean, you can just walk down the street and you will see a gallery, multiple per block. But you can just walk in and just find like a really incredible work.
And some of them is
People all
small.
over the world, yeah.
It's just a room. You're walking by and there's just a small room with just a few pieces.
But yeah, I mean, world-class galleries and artwork here. Modern days ceramics, like just, contemporary ceramics. It's all over. Like these are in the Oaxacan Painters Museum. This particular artist really. Is it not going? There we go. And just fascinating. What I love so much is often the imagery is really unique. There's just fantastical,
And these are actually carved into ceramic tiles.
style, yeah.
Which harkens back to, we'll see in just a minute.
Again, more of his work. This is mixed media. This is that's metal. That's actually metal, and like really textured painting. And yeah, really love this artist too. And that's just it. You'll just you'll walk by, you'll see a gallery, new show, and see something super cool and unique.
And there's so many. What's the word? Like harkening back. There's a better word for it. But just in even some of the poses that we see in these modern paintings and things, that it's not just the shapes and the images, but even just the way things are arranged harken back to some of the earlier carvings that we'll see on at Mount Talban and some of the other ruins that they found that are all over the place. Very similar, stylistic. There's so much recollection of the past and so much celebration and capturing the past in what's modern as well.
Yeah, we see a lot of that. Yeah, this was so the artist Takeda Shinsaburo, really well-known printmaker and artist who's been in Oaxaca for many years and taught at the university, actually. Taught printmaking and actually is considered one of the people who helped printmaking kind of rise as an art form in the area. Another reason that it rose as an art form in the area is because of in 2006 there was an uprising, the teachers union, and village people were kind of uprising, wanting to be recognized and have more rights and things like that. And printmaking became a way of communicating on the streets because they didn't trust the media at all.
And the government shut down the media. They were using the radio stations and things, but the government shut them all down.
Yeah, and so they were using
printmaking became a very
and
important
stencil
tool.
art as a form of communication to the public.
And this fellow was from Japan, and as you know, ukiyo-e, the Japanese woodblock prints, he's a master from Japan that came and settled in Oaxaca.
Yeah. His work is really incredible. these are more of his pieces. And they had a really great retrospective of his work while I was there, while we were there last. And again, like there's a lot of, this is from a prominent ceramic arts family, the Aguilar family, and they, their pieces, again, really well known. They're well known in the folk art scene, and their work is just super colorful. They do really large scale work as well as smaller, but a lot of symbolism in their work as well. This was also like during the Women's March. This was in the Oaxaca's Painters Museum, again touching on women's issues and sharing art about them.
Baseball.
Yeah. Large scale work.
And so we're kind of going to jump back really quick because this is Monte Alban, which is a
Monte Alban is the most prominent Zapotec city. It was actually one of my understanding is it's the first Mesoamerican city. And it was, it took like 700 years 900 years to build. And then was eventually like, it was in use for like 500 years and then it was abandoned. But it was really important to the Zapotec people. And the Zapotec, so it's the Zapotec are the prominent indigenous people in Oaxaca, still prominent today, and the Mixteca as well. So yeah, Monte Alban was a
the scale of this place is just unbelievable. And these are, we start to look at they've got their images that are carved into stone all over. And these are not just, I mean, people are finding these out on trails, like images and things. There's so much archaeological history in Oaxaca that is still being uncovered.
Yeah.
There's another smaller city across a valley on another hilltop at Tsompa that was just, it's only been, I think, 20 years or something that they discovered that.
They're still excavating it. This Monte Alban was only excavated in the early 20th century. And so they know of multiple archaeological sites that have not been excavated yet. So there's still so much cultural history that they're discovering, you know.
We just start to see like how some of these images carry forward and how there's like, we're holding on to this cultural heritage and these images and these shapes and these faces and the way we represent our people.
And they were forms of communication, like they still are today. I mean, that's one of the things that we think is so incredible is that, you know, one of the things, there's still so much they don't understand about the culture of Monte Alban, but one thing that, you know, one of the things they were talking about as far as some of these stone carvings was that they think that some of them may have been meant as like warnings to like neighboring tribes and things like that. So it was used as a form of communication and recording history and things like that.
So they would use them to celebrate their defeat of other cities or other and like, don't mess with us because this is what we're going to do to you.
This will happen to
what we did to them. And this is Mitla.
So this is another archaeological site named called Mitla, and again, it's really well known because it has these textural carvings in the side of them, and they know each one has a meaning, but still are kind of guessing at what they are. There's speculation of what they are. Mitla was actually still an active city when the Spaniards arrived, very active, and it was considered kind of the spiritual center. This is kind of what's left of what was the painted walls. They said all of the walls had been painted like this at one time with all of these, all of this imagery, and it's really incredible.
We were in.
This is one of my favorite archaeological sites. Monte Alban is spectacular, powerful place. But I really like this one.
You feel it in your body. We were in Teotihuacan visiting some friends, and we'd gone up to the church, and the church had been built with stones from ruins. And then they plastered it all over. And so they had actually gone through and chipped away some of the plaster on there, revealing some of those etchings in the stone that the Spaniards took away when they came and colonized the place.
And build their churches.
But it was amazing to see that stripped away and like, holy cow.
Yeah.
They tore down these other temples and used these stones to build their churches.
Yeah, and so this is a great reference to like what is pre-Hispanic art. Another really prominent artist is Rufino Tamayo. He was a Oaxacan artist that lived most of his life in Mexico City, but and was really well known. But he had collected for decades what he considered not just artifacts but pre-Hispanic art from all over Mexico. And it's one of the things that I love. This is my favorite museum in Oaxaca. I love this museum so much. And when I come here, I feel like the figures that I see are like old friends that I get to visit again. And I love that he considers them art forms and not just artifacts or, meant to be studied and understood, but meant to be appreciated. And also, some of them were functional, some of them were meant to, tell stories and be examples of life at that time. But they're, and too, like there's just so much curiosity for me, and I want to like learn more about them and what a lot of these things represent. But yeah, really fantastic museum that again, shows the prominence of art in culture. It goes way back,
And you see, there's such a pride and an ownership of this as a cultural tradition as well. And you see so many of these, the smaller, like just even the hash marks and the way that they stylize different shapes and etchings and stuff in modern paintings, how that carries forward. There's just a constant homage to the past and their heritage.
And Rufino Tamayo, like that museum is a gift to Oaxaca.
Yeah.
I mean, he gave that as a gift to Oaxaca, and it really is a treasure. So yeah, indigenous art is still alive. This is Teotitlán del Valle, which is really well known. It's a Zapotec village, really well known. They still speak Zapotec. A lot of the Zapotec villages still speak Zapotec, and even variations of Zapotec. And this is the Montaña family. This is Diego, our beloved friend, and he is showing us here how he not only creates his drawings for his weavings, but you can see all of the, this is petal loom. So they use petal looms in Teotitlán. And the whole village, I mean, it is a weaving village. A lot of the people there weave. It's what it's well known for. But yeah, he's showing us here his process.
Well, and even I was asking him, before, do you actually sketch this stuff out, or you just eyeball this? Like, he's like, no, it's a very meticulous process in a sketchbook. Before he finally stylizes and decides this is what the jaguar is going to look like. And the head, he had a book that he showed us that was a capture of a whole bunch of different images of jaguars, of armadillos, of like whatever images or whatever from the past and how they were done. Long ago by the Zapotecs, and then stylizes, takes some of, it's like, I like this head and I'm going to stylize this and make it my own, but it's still a callback. Even you can see in the patterns and things in there as well.
And then that is used, he puts that on the loom and he uses that as a guide for his
when he was marking
designs.
it with a pen, he was drawing it on the actual threads. Yeah.
And so this is his father Pedro, and they're generational. They've been weaving for generations, and their whole family is weavers. His brothers, their families all do weaving. Now, Pedro's wife Karina is actually she's a world-renowned chef, and she has taught all over the world. They have an amazing restaurant where she not only teaches, but she cooks, and they serve Zapotec food, and she's shared that with the world.
They just built her a kitchen out back with its all traditional cooking methodology, so she can do cooking classes back there. Yeah. This is all what the dyes are made of. All the dyes they make the dyes themselves out of natural materials.
Yeah, so these are, he showed us all of them, how they use them, and even the chemistry of them, and in order to get certain colors, the way that they would use acid or whether it's acid or alkaline, the colors that it would create. It was a really unique process. So these are some of their weavings, and again, this is a collective. This is art in here from the whole family.
And this is literally one line at a time, right? And adding threads in for the design. This is, so these are, and it's one of the...
They take months.
Months.
They take months
to create. And even with the clothing, we have clothing in here too. Yeah, we're going to get to the backstrap loom too. I'll wait on that. But just thinking about like going through all of these intricate, tiny threads, adding in to create these designs, it just blows my mind. And again, like this, the whole time I'm just hopping. Like, how is this, you know, it's just, it feels like such a secret world.
Come on. Yeah. That's Romina, Diego's daughter. She's adorable. But yeah, this is their showroom, and this is, you know, years of creations.
And even all of these shapes and things have meaning.
Exactly.
And there's whole stories about these shapes and things in
they
their
all
culture.
represent something from their culture.
And that's this one in particular is like the cycle of life.
Yep.
The Zapotec calendar is really...
The Zapotec calendar and the Zapotec cycle of life. Yeah.
Just the intricate, it just blows my mind.
Yeah.
These things last forever. Mija has these all over her house.
I do. My house is kind of pretty much an homage to Oaxaca.
And another family.
I don't know. I'm an homage to Oaxaca. Yeah, this is another wonderful weaving family, and I love what she's doing there. She's showing us how they grind the cochineal, which is it's actually a parasitic bug that grows on cactus, and they gather them and dry them and then grind them up, and they create this amazing red color. And then there's variations to make it either more pink or more purple, things that you can do to change the color. But another thing this family has been doing is they've been exploring like shibori dyeing with their natural dyes. So this was during a workshop where we did dyeing with them. Teotihuacan is also very well known for their candle making and these really decorative candles that are often used in the churches, especially during celebrations. They'll make really huge festive candles, so it's known for that as well.
Barro Negro.
So now we're going to go to the village of San Bartolo Coyotepec, and which is well known for black pottery. And black pottery actually, there's pottery that was found in Monte Alban, black pottery, but it was kind of lost for a long period of time, and then kind of rediscovered not that long ago, like maybe 60, 70 years ago, and it's a firing process that turns it black, and it's reducing the oxygen in the kiln is what creates that. It's my understanding that's what creates.
But it's also a very specific clay from a very specific mine. And it's so funny, she's telling the story, she's not allowed.
This is Adelina.
Adelina
and
is
her
not
grandson.
allowed to go in and get the clay. Men have to go into the mine to get the clay. It's the men's job to do. But she's a master.
She's a master potter, her whole family, her brother and
her grandson,
her grandson, her grandchildren,
As she was talking the whole time, she's just working with the clay, and so is her grandson, just building stuff alongside her.
Yeah.
And so through the course of the talk, she made this bell without even looking. She was just talking to us the whole time, and just like I'm knitting or something.
I know. Super sweet.
But in the factory, it's not a factory, in the workshop behind her. So this is, they, once the clay dries, this is before it's been fired, they're burnishing these jaguars, but it's all these divots and cuts and stuff to give them these intricate textures.
They used to carve them out, Some of them, like these actually are built with a mold, but they also then go in and carve them out. But they burnish them because then when they fire, they're shiny.
Super shiny.
Yeah. And there you're showing us his creations. Yes.
And he's just like literally just home from school. He's still wearing his school uniform.
School uniform, I know. Totally.
This is the finished product.
Yep. This is in their studio. Yep. Gotta have the mezcal bottles, of course, too, right? I know. And this is another family of Barro Negro potters, and they this is the Mendoza family. And they tend to do larger vessels. It's a lot of what they do is larger vessels, or what they're most known for. So you see what he's working on is basically it's just two plates on top of each other, and he rotates them and to create a pottery wheel, and just right there sitting on the ground, and he uses the water that's next to him and the sponge, and so he formed that in the time that we were there with him. And then his wife is, she's doing the decorations on them. She has all these little tools that she uses, and they're just kind of like everyday, little tools, from pens and little knives and whatnot. This is their kiln in the back of their workshop, one of their pieces, which is a really beautiful, sweet family. And of course, their daughter is learning as well. Yeah, really incredible work. Very intricate.
That one just blows me away.
Right?
I was like, how on earth?
These are pieces that are actually in a museum in San Bartolo, Coyotepec. It's highly revered. They're very, very proud that this is what they do in their village. Yeah, this is a whole altar of all black pottery. Yeah. But it's also used very sculpturally as well.
The corn kernels,
Our
skulls.
Yeah.
Okay.
So then there are lots of different ceramics. Ceramics is a really prominent art form. And this is in Santa Maria Azompa. And this is Angelica Vasquez. She is really amazing. She's got so many great stories, and she tells them through her art pieces. It's amazing to have her share with you. A lot of it is personal history. A lot of it is her personal experience, her personal beliefs that are represented. And like that last piece was really about the combination of her ancestry, very indigenous as well as colonial, as well as Spanish, and the influences of both. With her grandparents, these are her grandparents on the side. So yeah, her pieces are really unique, and actually she's won awards, one of which was the Arts and Science Award in Mexico, specifically for her use of multiple types of clay together and being able to fire them, figure out a way to fire them, because usually they need different kinds of different ways to be fired, but she's found a way to do that, and so she's been honored for that and for her.
So there's no paint. This is all different clays.
Yeah. Yeah, she's really, she's a great storyteller too. Really sweet.
Just amazing. The way it all flows together, it's like collage, but it's not at all.
Yeah, it is like sculptural collage, clay collage. And then also pieces from her family. Again, it's a family gallery, so there's pieces from other family members there as well. And there she is with her grandkids and her sister. They're super sweet. So San Martín del Cajete, this is a carving village, also a Zapotec village. This is a carving village. And I've always known them for being known for their alebrijes. And alebrijes are wood carved, fantastically, intricately, colorfully painted wood carvings of animals and mystical creatures. But really it's originally a wood carving village. And they used to do masks and like wood figurines and stuff. And this is another family that was Christian. This is Rosario and her son Christian. And she is one of the only or first female wood carvers in Tilcajete. Mostly carving is done by men, and women did the painting. And she really pushed that boundary, and she shared with us just how hard that was, like her story about it, and how now she's trying to empower more women to be able to do carving as well. She's the master carver in her taller, her workshop, and her husband and brother are the other carvers, and then they have a lot of people who paint with them as well. But preparing these pieces, these are made with copal wood, and preparing them is a process. Most of them are carved out of one piece of wood. And then they have to cure and they have to dry for a couple months. Then they have to fill them and dry them again. Then they have to finish them before they can even start painting them. But yeah, they're really incredible.
You can order, it takes about a year. If they do custom orders, it's about a year to get your piece.
Because it takes months. This is another family. This is Efraín Fuentes. This is his workshop. He, again, generational wood carver. He learned from his father and grandfather. And sharing some of their process, they became known for creating these really lovely hearts. And so here's some of them in the painted process. And then and then here she is painting some of them. They're really beautiful. And again, really beautiful work.
All of these patterns and things, like you see so much that harkening back and that echoing
from a lot of indigenous patterns, like on even the pieces that you saw on the side of Mija, right? The designs, they're used within, and they all have meanings.
Not just painted green. Mm-hmm. Green lizard.
But yeah, the painting for these has become so intricate.
Little brushes with one.
Tiny, little one bristle brushes.
And I love these too. These are.
Yeah, and these, this is also representative of what are called tonales, which are like protection animals, and are often the alebrijes story, the story of how alebrijes themselves, these wood-carved animals and mystical creatures, have come to be, is a long story, and it's really cool though. So I encourage you to look it up, because it really started with an artist in Mexico City, but it came to Tilcajete, and now they have taken it off. And that's part of what's innovative about it, is that this is not an old art form. Wood carving is an old art form, but the alebrijes have evolved over time and really they really only started probably 50 years ago. So this is a more recent art form. Well, for a place that has been around forever, yes.
Oh my goodness. I'm just looking at the time and we've got...
I know. Yeah. So backstrap loom weaving. So this is the Santa Tomas Jaliesa. Backstrap loom weaving is the oldest form of weaving in Oaxaca. And so you can see this is Margarita and her daughters Crispina and Inez. Again, they're award-winning weavers. And the backstrap loom usually is tied to like a tree or a pole or something, and that's where they do their weaving from. But their designs are really beautiful. They've been doing this for all their lives. This is what they've done. Margarita learned from her mother as well. And this is what they've known for. They've been to places all over the world to show their work. And this is Gerardo, and this is Margarita's son, and he's a self-taught painter. And so they all live together in this beautiful home, this sweet, sweet home that they've created in this village, and they work as artists all day long. And this is Odelan. I love Odelan. So this piece that I'm wearing is actually is an Amusco piece. And so the Amuscos people are in Oaxaca and the state of Guerrero as well. Very well known for backstrap loom weaving. And what's lovely about Odelan, not only when he tells you about weaving and the symbols and whatnot, what he tells you is that, the huipiles, which is what this is, the shirts and the dresses are called huipiles or huipiles. When they're created for the women, they are, it's not just clothing. These are garments of like protection and honor, because the women are the most important people in their culture. And so the opening at the top represents the sun, and the women kind of represent the moon, and it's this balance and a lot of symbology in the pieces. You want to keep going, babe?
Yep.
And so, again, he is also an award-winning weaver. The other thing that I love is he has this store in Oaxaca, and he's bringing weavers from all over his village and neighboring areas, bringing their work into the city to sell it so that it can be available to people and so he can share their culture with people. And he's also working to preserve it and even bring back designs that have been out of practice for a while, going to museums to see old garments and see if he can learn to recreate some of these designs so he can bring them back.
So this is in the shop with his family.
Lovely, his whole family. Faye is his wife, his kids are always there as well. Super generous and just lovely, lovely. We adore them.
And all of these designs have, there's stories in these threads.
Yeah.
You know, one of the things that when the amount of energy, when you look at, like, again, thread by thread, and this is just the middle section of this, and all of that.
And because there are 3 panels. This is this is just the center panel he's working on. That's just this piece. Then there's these 2 pieces as well.
And each of these takes 6 weeks, did he say?
Oh no, they take months. Like each panel?
Yeah. It was like 6 weeks.
Because it takes like 3 to 4 months to create a dress.
To create one of these dresses. And so one of the and I had never really...
slow fashion.
Yeah, slow fashion. What's funny, the way Jules, some of you know Jules, the way she described it, that it really hit me, is that the energy that's being transmitted into these clothing that they're wearing. That transmission of energy, it's not just threads, it's not just art, it really is energetic clothing. All of those threads, all of that action, all that interaction with that. And I was thinking about, as painters or poets or whatever, as artists, the time that we put into things, and that and how much it takes, and how we value or don't value art in our society, and honor the energy that the artists, that we as artists are putting into that work. And when you think about clothing in particular, it's just kind of wild to think about. I'm wearing the energy that these people have put into this article of clothing. It's not just this cheap ass, this is like a $3 Costco shirt. And it's, it's like a totally different relationship to how we dress.
They're really so gorgeous,
Unbelievable.
And from different areas, they're different styles. And then some of them, they add embroidery again, with beautiful symbols that are important to them and their culture.
And we go in, Mija's like, you do not haggle.
No.
About the price. They're $200-$300, some of these $400.
Some of them are, I'm like, they took 4 months to make.
One article of clothing.
Do not haggle.
This will last your whole life.
We do not, yes. So this is in the village of San Agustin, Etla. We were talking about Francisco Toledo, and this is an old textile mill that he turned into a really beautiful art center in this village. It's really incredible building. And
right next to the church.
Yes, of course. Of course, right next to the church. And it's used for all kinds of things. It's
a dance floor right there.
Yeah, this
shiny floor.
They have performances in here. They have exhibitions, cultural events. It's really lovely the way that this has become a community center as well. This particular exhibition was actually artists who have created artwork inspired by Toledo and Toledo's work. This is from a mass exhibition that came through one person's personal collection of masks, and there were hundreds and hundreds in there, and they have so much history. It showed a lot of them in use, videos of how they were used in different rituals, ceremonies, festivities, things like that. So incredibly educational. I learned so much. And it was really an incredible exhibition.
It's like the face on the face.
Yeah. And all of it. So, and this is also, Casa is where the felting studio I was telling you about, that's where it's housed, is in Casa. Casa is the name of it's the Center for Art in San Agustin, Etla. And so these are the pieces. That was a woman who was working on one of the felted pieces, and these are one of the large scale. This is some of Gary's photographs.
Of the textured walls.
Of the textured walls that have been made into felt, large scale felted pieces.
Just unbelievable.
Mm-hmm. Really amazing. Yeah, so this is some of the larger scale felt pieces that were created and on a display at Casa as well. And this is Alberto.
Alberto.
And Alberto is one of our favorite people
He is.
in the world. He is so great. Amazing storyteller and a passion for paper like you would not believe.
He started his whole spiel with grass.
Yeah, exactly.
Like this is
fibers. This is, and that, really the system.
that's actually, it's funny because he was very passionately talking about how important paper is, and how we don't really realize how important paper is, and this whole process of making paper that is going to hold art or hold words that change the way that we think about everything, right? And so this is about the church. And how this was a cobra, and like it's going to eat your face because it's like there's all of this information that you don't necessarily want, but it changes the way we think, and we have to, he's so great.
He was so great. But he also talks about how, again, like like John was talking about, this is where they like pound the pulp for the paper. Like John was talking about with the textiles and the fiber and the energy that goes into creating this, right? He feels the same way about paper. It's all of the elements are involved. It comes from plants, which grew because of water and trees or water and sun and earth, and then it becomes, it's like a spiritual process.
Totally.
It's a sacred process to become paper that then becomes art or transfers information. And so this is in their studio. He has a few people that work with him. Of course, they have a studio cat. And this is one of their paper presses. And that piece back there is all made with paper pulp, different paper pulp.
And these were sculptures made from paper.
Yeah, sculptures in the gallery made from paper. Yeah, and he was so fun. Basically, he's now John's mentor.
How do I do?
John now aspires to be Alberto.
Okay, holy cow. Okay, we're almost there. We're about halfway done.
I know you guys. It was so hard to select just
and to trim this down.
200 photos to share with you.
I took over 7,000 photos.
Thousands of photos. Thousands of photos. Between his and mine.
Yeah, it was like, forget about it.
So contemporary art, like I said, it's everywhere. There's art is everywhere. But what's really cool to see is a lot of the contemporary art. This is a design, a boutique with the young designers. And what I love is that they're using some of the traditional textiles and embroidery in new fashion. In their new fashion, and you can see that even in like my shoes. This is embroidery, and it's used in a contemporary style. And so we see a lot of that going on as well. Even this artist, so gourd carving is an art form that's been around forever, right? And so this is a young artist who is kind of doing new things with it. What's that? Was it Pepe? No, it was not. And so then he'd use the same technique on these large, spool ends.
The top from like cable spools.
They're super, super cool, very intricate. Yeah. Another one. This is Damien. Loved this exhibition. Again, great contemporary art, and that's one thing. There are basically old convents and monasteries that have now been turned into, art galleries and museums and cultural centers. And this is one of them. Sao Paulo Cultural Center houses all of these really amazing exhibitions, especially of contemporary artists. And textile art is so prominent, but this is, there's a lot of contemporary textile art that's also being displayed and shared, and a lot of it definitely has homages to older techniques like embroidery, like crochet, things like that they're utilizing in new and different ways. Yeah, it's really fun to see. There's an amazing museum, the Textile Museum, there that has a lot of exhibitions of older work and contemporary work. Like this particular style of dress, you might notice it is often something that would be worn by like Frida Kahlo. This particular style of dress is from Tehuantepec, and this is an artist who took that style but created a modern, a contemporary modern piece out of it. Oh, that I don't know. Yes, that was her. That was her. Yes, you're right. Yeah, again, you know, this new use of like textile art in a contemporary way. And then this is our friend Chucho. He's a paper mache artist. And he makes manos, which are like in the parades they're used, these big giant puppets that like, they're gigantic. But he also does sculpture. So he takes this paper mache style that is used traditionally for parades and stuff, and then he also creates sculpture in the same style. And then his wife Jean, she is a painter, and she has been she's been in Oaxaca for a long time now, over 20 years, and so she really loves Oaxacan culture, and so she shares it in kind of fun and whimsical ways as well through her colors, and I love that one with the corn head. I think it's one of my favorites.
She still has art up. Espresso Aroma still?
So she has art at Espresso Aroma down on campus, and she has for years. This is Marieta. She's so great. She calls herself an art activist. She is an artist also, but she's an art activist. And she's done so many amazing projects in, not only in Oaxaca, but in Mexico, primarily with women, like creating, this is a patchwork healing blanket, and it's women who have contributed pieces that they've made into blankets to be on display, again, to raise awareness about issues that women are facing. Another project that she did was to work with a group of women in a village called San Francisco Tanivet, and wanted to find a way to bring some sort of art form to this village. This village is really unique because it's not an indigenous village. It actually was, they are people who were part of a hacienda that worked for the hacienda, and eventually the hacienda left and closed, and they were left there to like,
Good luck.
Yeah, they were left there to figure things out for themselves. It's a very poor village. Mostly they do farming. And then these women...
subsistence farming.
Yeah. And so she worked with these women to kind of find something creative to do, something to give them a voice and bring them together through art. So they learned how to do quilting, like a patchwork quilting, an applique. And now what they are known for, they're a collective of women now in this village, and what they do is they create pieces that bring awareness to immigration issues. Because another thing about this village is that many of the people leave to go to the United States because they have no work there, and to try and find a way to have a better life.
Send money home to their families.
And send money home to their families. And this is the women now. And so they create pieces that raise awareness about the issues they're facing, but they also create like pot holders and wall hangings and things and tote bags and whatnot that they can sell so that they can bring in income to their village and their families.
Do they go to other places to sell their work?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. We went to their house this time, but they do. They bring their work to other places. Really? And they've had exhibitions of their work in the United States, where actually one of the women got to see her child who she hadn't seen in like 10 years. So it's allowed them to be able to get visas to come to the United States to share their work, and they've also shown it in like Mexico City, and they just had another exhibition in Oaxaca recently.
That again.
Uh-oh.
Pardon me? I should have said that before I got all going.
What village were those women from?
San Francisco Tanivet. And they call themselves Las Hormigas de Tanivet. Las Hormigas are the ants Little worker ants working together. Yeah.
Right, so in all of this, I mean, kind of where we're headed to next, we got just a few more slides. So in all of this, I came with Mija to Oaxaca in October for Dia de los Muertos, and we just started talking about what's going on, and especially about what we're seeing on the streets and walking around, and this awareness. It's something that I'm a poet, I'm a slam poet. It's like this energy around getting people thinking about what's going on, and this sense of helplessness that I keep hearing. When we came back in November, it was a week after the election, and I had, I've been teaching for 20 years. I had kids coming to me in their 20s, like, what are we going to do, John? I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah.
But we've got to do something. Like, they're feeling this urgency, and it's like, what is it that we can do? And we really got to talking about what can we do. We're artists. We want to see more of this happening at home and around the United States and around in cities. We have so many artists and so many friends, and we tend to stay in our studios. And
how can we activate people?
How can we activate people?
How can we activate our communities? How can we come together
and work together, right? and really start to challenge some of the things that are going on and some of the things that aren't going on, honestly. Like, I'm feeling a lot of urgency about there's a lot going on that I'd really like to change, and we feel so powerless to do anything about it. And we're artists.
We just felt like we see this happening in Oaxaca too. They're very vocal. They're very visible, really, about the issues that they face, and the artists are a prominent part of that, right? Those discussions, and that these walls become avenues of communication, right? There's these ways that they are, and connection. Like, they're trying to connect with people. They're trying to create conversations. They're trying to raise awareness. They're trying to connect through art, and these collectives, I mean, this is what they come together to do.
And it really is more collaborative. The art scene in Oaxaca is more of a collaborative thing, more of a community thing. It's not as competitive, because we're not all trying to make money and beat somebody out for money. All these collectives, you go in, you're like, wow, look at these beautiful prints that were made all over at these other collectives. They're all selling each other's prints at the collectivos. There's not that competition sense. It's like, this is us and this is who we are, and let's help each other out. And there's so much of that. What's best for the greater good. And so we started talking with friends down there in Oaxaca. And we have two really good friends. That the one is a printmaker and a visual artist, and the other is a muralist, who actually.
Actually, they're both printmakers and muralists. One just tends to do more murals, and one tends to do more printmaking.
And Kobe was living up in Portland for a while. He has murals still up in Portland, and.
But he's from Oaxaca, and he grew up in Oaxaca.
He's from Oaxaca, he's Zapotec, and very much identifies with his Zapotec heritage. And so we started talking with them about this idea about creating a collective with artists from the United States or elsewhere, with artists in Oaxaca. And so we're doing a project. So this is Kobe.
This is Kobe.
In front of some of his work. And this is our friend Fede.
This is Federico.
Who primarily is a printmaker. And so we started talking with them about what is something that we can do together to bring some artists down and work with a collective of artists here in Oaxaca. And
that artists, this idea of like creating a place to come to creating a way for artists to come together in Oaxaca, so to learn from Oaxacan artists and what they're doing there, right? To see how art is being utilized for communication, for connection, how community-minded it is, how there are all these collectives working together to raise awareness on common issues and things that are important to them and their communities, and like really have this opportunity to work with Oaxacan artists specifically. And so we were just super excited about this idea of doing this, and so we're working on we're creating an experience, a workshop experience that's like 12 days long. Go and work with these artists to create a mural and to learn tools for like printmaking, stencil art. We're going to work with Marietta on creating like art activism plans and action plans for projects to really help motivate artists to come together. You find back to your own communities, you know, so that you can fire up the artists in your community and bring them together to, you know, be the change makers that we are, right?
So we're working with 5 artists from Oaxaca, 5 muralists from Oaxaca. And
Marietta as well.
And Marietta is, like, we're going to paint a mural in Oaxaca City with 5 artists. We're bringing, so the classes, we had to cap it at 12 people.
Yeah.
So we're bringing 12 artists down to Oaxaca to work with these 5 Oaxacan artists to paint a mural. We're going to conceptualize the mural together and work through what is this going to be, and everybody is going to have a hand in painting this mural in the center of the city, in the middle of the city. As part of this, so that's like the big thing. We're also going to be doing a printmaking workshop and doing stencil making and some of these tools to kind of look at, like, how do we democratize art and how do we bring people together. And what Marietta is going to help us do is really start to think. Marietta is the one who went into the small village and mobilized these women to start creating art that tells stories. All those little patches tell stories of trying to cross the border and being away from your family and sharing these stories. So whether
scale projects as well.
So whether we're going to go back to our communities and get folks together to paint a mural, or start doing paste ups around town about what the fuck people, you know, like,
find something, or like, come together on
how do we empower more people to create art and to be thinking and telling these stories about what we're going through and our humanity and our collective humanity, get us out of our studios and out of our homes to be together as not just artists, but as community members who care about the well-being of our community. And that's really what we're struggling with right now, right? As a country, we're kind of losing that identity, and, like, how do we get small again, and how do we help build those relationships in a purposeful way, in a way that challenges and makes us think and start to have communication about the things that are important and the values that are important and the things that we share. So it's just really been a transformative experience for me.
Yeah. So, and the other thing.
So that's one. That's going to happen in December. That's December 1st to 13th. Yep. And there are also a bunch of other tours.
Artists now. I mean, we're just opening it up now.
And then
we have
these other tours.
And then we're leading the cultural tours. We work with artists. And
this is Carnival.
Yeah, this is during Carnival. We work with artists who teach workshops, and then we take them to meet other artists and learn about Oaxacan culture. You know, this was on a mural tour. This is also during Carnival.
Dancing with the oily boys.
So to experience life in Oaxaca, to experience art in Oaxaca, especially as artists, there's just so much opportunity to engage and be inspired. And
Coco.
Everyone is always just like, many people come back time and time again because this is where they just kind of, like, you know, are uplifted and kind of rejuvenated, and also get to just really be inspired by art forms that have been around for many generations, as well as seeing how it's being utilized. The arts are being utilized currently.
And that's the cultural end of it. We're also working with each of these tours. We're working with an artist or a pair of artists who are leading a workshop for several of the days. So you're in workshop working on creating art for several days in the workshop with a group of artists from mostly around the United States, but we've had folks from Australia and
New Zealand and Canada.
And so this is Michael DeMang working with these folks on assemblage.
On the assemblage work. And like the surround, you know, being in Oaxaca definitely is inspirational to their work. It definitely informs the work that they create, you know. Seeing all the working folks. And then we also get to share what we create. This is during a retreat where I actually was teaching, and so we focused on art journals, but the art form that we explored was stencil making. A lot of people hadn't done it before, but it's a very accessible art form. It's one of the things that I love about it is it's really accessible for people who haven't done art before or haven't done even drawing before. There's so many different ways that you can utilize it, but also again as an accessible art form for communication. This is it. This is us. Thanks so much, you guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Mija.
Yeah.
That was super inspiring.
Yeah. Click it one more time, babe.
One more time, there's something else. Is there
more
like a website or something?
Yep. So if you want to find out about
There we
us,
go.
yes, John is on Substack, and especially in the last, out of this last 6 months, we've been in Oaxaca for 3 of them.
Right.
So we've been there a lot lately, and actually
It's actually closer to 4.
we're actually moving there in October. Yeah.
Right?
Which we're super excited about. Super excited about. But John, he's taken so many photographs, and then he writes poems that are, that they go together, they interact. And so you'll see a lot of that on the Substack as well. And then, my artwork and all of our cultural tours are on my website, mijamatriz.com. So if you want to find out more about them, if you want to get on our mailing list so you can learn about when they're coming up and other art events and things that we're doing, you can find us there. But yeah, anyone have any questions? Questions for us? Yeah.
Can I make a comment?
Yeah.
I just want to say that it's so beautiful how you guys are, that they've been able to use art to mobilize.
Yeah.
And that's something that hopefully, like in our country right now,
Yeah.
we sorely need.
Neat.
Yes.
And this was so empowering. I'm so glad I made it.
I think they had to, there was no, you needed to do
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
We're getting to that point here where we're desperate.
Yeah.
That was it.
Really need it.
In 2006, when they had the teacher strike and the folks were using the radio station to communicate, to mobilize people, and the government kept shutting those down, and it became, it was
Necessary.
violent.
It was necessary.
It was police showing up with guns and weapons and harming civilians.
Yeah.
We have the community printmaking studio.
That's right.
And you can do letterpress bulletins and
Yeah.
big,
Exactly.
4x8 prints.
Yeah.
But I want to know about wheat paste or whatever they're using to slap those up
Right.
on the walls because,
Yeah. Oh yeah. They just use wheat paste.
yeah, okay, good.
And they usually primarily, what I love is that the paper that they use is called papel de
Revolution.
Yeah, revolution, the paper of the revolution, right? And it's newsprint.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or they use just tissue paper as well.
Are they printing on, do they have a huge press or they can't?
They use, I know. The first time I met Mario of Subterráneos, it was long ago when he and his group of artists were in a really small, little studio. And their press was huge. Their press was so big, but it fit in the room. But in order for them to roll it all the way through, they actually had to pick up the press and move it so that they could finish rolling it. I was like, dedication. This is dedication. But what they do is especially those large pieces, they do them in pieces, right? So they carve them in pieces. They carve them in pieces and they print them in pieces and then they put them together. Yeah, up on the walls. Again, in the middle of the night.
Lickety split.
I was a little inspired by that idea. I was like, as a screen printer, why didn't I think about even carving little 2x2 squares and making a giant thing?
Exactly.
We did that in my drawing class.
Yeah.
To recreate
You do
some kind of
grids.
painting, one piece at a time.
Yeah, in grids. Exactly.
Carving tile.
They have issues with cultural appropriation, there's, some folks.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, definitely. But you don't see cultural appropriation there as much as you see it here. Here's where you see cultural appropriation. Yeah,
Go
for sure.
there and then they get the ideas and then they profit them.
Yeah, it's
Hard to preserve that.
it is.
What is the population of Oaxaca?
It's about 750,000 in the greater metropolitan area, so it's about the same size as Portland. A little bit bigger.
bit bigger.
Portland's like 650.
Yeah, and then with the surroundings, so it's in a valley, and so it's the Central Valley is where a lot of the artisan villages are. There are so many, you guys, so many. and so many traditional art forms. Embroidery too, like we didn't even go into
Silversmithing,
embroidery.
there's
We
so
didn't
many
go into
things.
silversmithing. We didn't go into like so many different things, so many different art forms that are happening there. Paper mache, yes.
Maybe you did that before I got
No, no, so many
So
different
much.
things. So yeah, it's in that, you know, it's in the valley, and then there's the lots of different villages on either side of Oaxaca City itself. So it's really beautiful, beautiful. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
I wanted to give a pitch for my favorite time in Oaxaca, and that's the Radish Festival.
Oh my
Oh, yeah.
gosh, yes! I finally get to be there for the Radish Festival. I cannot wait.
What time of year?
It's December
December.
23rd.
Okay.
And it's a magical time to be in Oaxaca.
Yeah.
There's pop-up galleries everywhere.
Yeah.
It's just
Fun. They make art out of they sculpt radishes. Radish sculptures. They're amazing. I've seen I'm obsessed. I'm obsessed. I cannot wait that we're going to be there. I'm like, we're finally going to be there during the Radish Festival.
It's fabulous.
Thank you.
Oh, awesome.
January, I was there at Casa Colonial.
Yes, that's where we stay a lot.
Yeah, I left.
Now, sometimes they do. Yeah.